Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Duelists Discussion.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Duelist Discussion. I'm your host Devin Casey and with me is my dear friend and co-host Rashard Burrell. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. I'm excited to get episode 2 on the road. A lot has happened since episode 1, so let's get into it.
Definitely agree. The biggest news is the incoming beta wipe, which is going to hit accounts pretty soon. Players that are currently in the beta, all of their progress is going to be completely wiped clean and they're going to have to start over after this wipe. Now this wipe is to introduce a patch that's going to include a bunch of balancing and it's going to refund everyone of all their in-game gold that they have spent and or purchased with real-world money, so they're going to be able to rebuy card packs after the wipe has concluded. And this is a pretty big deal. This drives us even closer to launch, I think. Not certain how close, but do you think it's fair? The most notable point here, that the players that are playing after this wipe, they're going to be able to take their progress into launch. Do you think that's necessarily fair? They're going to hit the gate running. Meanwhile, all of us are just going to have to start clean.
I mean, there's two sides to this, because if you're a true Hearthstone fan, you've been waiting for the game to come out, you signed up for the beta, you've been patiently waiting to get your invite, you finally get it, and you're playing, you earn all this stuff, and you're excited for it. From that player's point of view, it is fair, I would imagine, because you were committed to getting this game. You were a true fan. You wanted to play it as soon as you could. Compared to someone who would say, I'll just wait until release to play the game. And not that people who wait till release aren't just as excited to play the game, but, I guess there should be some kind of reward for helping them make the game better before it releases, by being in the beta.
I mean, do you think they're going to have an open beta where everyone's going to get to be able to try this game out before it fully launches with everything finished? Because then, if that was the case, then this argument wouldn't matter at all, right? Because everyone would have a fair shot at getting a head start.
Yeah, and that's I kind of feel like, because the game is so polished and because they're being so careful with this closed beta, that it would kind of defeat the purpose if they had an open one.
Yeah, while I do agree they are being pretty careful, I would certainly like an open beta, because I think they would be able to get a bunch of the bugs out of the way by opening up to such a large pool of players.
Yes.
But really the main reason not a whole lot of people are playing, they haven't really gotten the opt-ins out yet, it's because hardware limitations. They just haven't had the machinery for this yet, and they're transitioning over that with this wipe, which is part of the reason. So they're going to be able to get more people into it simply because they've updated their hardware. Foreign regions like China and all that, they don't even have the beta yet. Korea, Taiwan, China, their closed betas have not even begun.
Isn't that crazy?
That kind of makes me doubt my theory is that the game is coming soon. It's almost close to launch. It's going to be this year, we think. But closed beta for those large territories hasn't even begun. It's kind of crazy.
And that also brings in the topic of an unfair advantage, because that means the American players will have a huge advantage over countries if it's released very close to, or if their beta start is very close to actual release, or they don't have a beta, they don't have beta access at all ever. Like, that would be super unfair to them, because they don't have that. They can't get that practice time and play time to get familiar with the game, the cards, and all that stuff.
Do you think we'll be able to play with like cross-region play? Because there really is no chat in game. You can just use emotes, and that'd be easy enough to just translate for the player if they don't necessarily speak English.
I kind of feel there'll be regional servers where you will only play with people from your region, kind of the way World of Warcraft does. it could. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't, especially if they're using those. There's not going to be an actual chat. It would be a lot easier to make a global server than for another type of game because there's no language barrier.
That's true. But don't they have to edit out the like the skulls and stuff for the Chinese players? They're not allowed to have those kind of things in their games, isn't that correct?
Yeah, the censorship in China on the media is very strict. So.
That could have a lot to do with why it's not in open beta yet. They might still be working on it.
Yeah, they could be releasing a different, a more appropriate version for China, which it's crazy to me. So.
I know. It's just a skull. I mean, I don't know too much about it to really. Anyway, players in the beta here anyway, complaining that the game is pay to win, meaning if you have a bunch of money to spend on card packs, which increases your chances of getting better cards, it essentially makes it. If you got the money, you can be a good player. It's an argument that does not side with skill, but rather with resources. And this is kind of what makes Magic: The Gathering and other similar card games controversial. In that if you just have the money to spend on it, you can be a good player. It doesn't necessarily have to do with your technical skill. What do you think about this?
I mean, with any card game, having the money is going to give you an advantage. If you have more money, you can buy the more expensive cards in other games. Like in Magic, there's cards that one card can cost over $100. And there's some people who just can't afford those cards, and so they won't be able to. They won't be there. It doesn't mean they're not as good of a player. It just means that they don't have the same tools. And it's really the same thing in all aspects of life, really. Because if you were to play any sport and you bought better equipment for your players, you'll have an advantage over the other team simply because you have higher quality tools. It kind of has that. There's really no fix to it, you know.
I mean, you could just throw a bunch of money at the game, and it increases your chances of getting like some legendary cards, which are potentially game winners. But it really all comes down to skill. But I mean, everyone on the forums is complaining about it being pay to win, and it's interesting. I don't see a whole bunch of argument that includes ways to fix that. You know what I mean?
And it's like there's really no, unless they completely take out the option to buy, which on their part would be the game wouldn't survive simply because they wouldn't be able to fund it. Because
that's a good point. Because you do win cards in game as it is. You can just increase the income of cards. Yes,
it's purely a patience thing, really. If you can earn everything for free, but if you pay a lot of money, you'll get the good cards faster than. If you got extremely lucky with the free cards, you could get the good cards just as fast as somebody who bought them.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, just statistically, you're going to get the cards faster if you buy it. So, and free-to-play games have always had that stigma to them. You know,
they consist of microtransactions where you pay a bunch of little fees or whatever, and it funds the game.
It's kind of hard. I feel like it's almost impossible to avoid the complaint of pay to win in any free-to-play model because there's going to be. It's just the way the game survives. There has to be some option.
Lead game dev Eric Dodds has no plans of implementing any single-player content like a story mode or anything other than matches consisting of one-on-one. There was a great interview with him over on Turn 2, I believe, podcast, where he said they're just trying to focus on getting the game to launch and making sure everything's polished, which, as if it isn't polished enough already, right? And a question was brought up to him regarding team play, which would be pretty cool. Pokemon kind of does that, where you got like 2v2, that kind of thing. That'd be pretty fun, right? It'd just be hard to balance.
It would be very hard to balance because everything up until this point has been 1-on-1, and I'm sure that's how the decks are balanced. All of them are designed to be able to fight any of the others. Yeah. I mean, that's with any game. When you add more players, there's more things to consider and more things to balance. It is I wish they did have plans to implement a story mode or something, because in a lot of games the story mode is a good way to get familiar with it before you initiate that multiplayer or PvP part of the game. But and me personally, I love the lore of the Warcraft universe, and I would like to see some kind of lore or something, some kind of backstory for the game, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that that cards, like in these games, like the art and everything, do you think that lore should be explored? Like, should be explaining where this character in this card is coming from, that kind of thing? They obviously spent so much time and go out of their way to really detail these things. It's like the cover of a book. Should you be given the option, or made to even, go further into that if it'll help the story? Or
I was gonna say that it should at least be an option. I don't want, like, they shouldn't shove the lore down your throat. Like, it should be an option, because some people just don't care about the story of the game. I mean, and you don't want the players to feel like they have to read or skip through a bunch of cutscenes that they don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
So I do personally feel there should at least be something like a in-game encyclopedia or lore book or something, you know?
Yeah.
Just something to let players who do care about the backgrounds of these characters to explore that. And of course you can do that on your own through other multiple media outlets on the internet and such, but you know, if it's packaged in, it's just an overall better player experience.
I agree. I think the immersion that it would offer should be optional, like some kind of, for example, the Civilization games. They have like almost an entire wiki that you don't have to touch, but it's there if you want it, and it's just loaded full of information.
Exactly.
But I think it should be implemented in the game. And it would be beneficial if it was out of the way, but just there for you as a tool. Because if you have to go out to look at a wiki or something online, that'd be irrelevant to the gameplay, right?
And like you said, it does break the immersion of being in the game, and you can just switch over and say, "Oh, I wonder what this character does."
Right, or where they're from, or who they are, or, you know, so on and so forth. Maybe even you can get a little meta about it and explain the artwork. Like, what is this scene? Or what is this scene supposed to... I don't know, I just think that'd be a good idea, considering the lore is the substance of like all of these really popular strategy card games.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be pretty awesome if they could implement that in a very easy way.
Yes.
In other news, the Steam controller was announced by Valve, and why does this matter, you ask? Well, you are asking, right?
I suppose.
Valve is a PC, Mac games vendor, very popular by now, and they're looking to bring the PC keyboard and mouse game experience onto a controller better than anyone else has done it so far. It looks kind of like a GameCube controller, however, there are like high-resolution clickable trackpads that replace the traditional analog sticks, and those are meant to emulate mouse precision. They're like trackpads like on a laptop. That you operate with your mouse. You don't really move anything except your fingers across the surface. It's kind of indented into it. In the middle of the device is like a clickable touchscreen that you can swipe through and browse through options in the game and click it to select a particular option that you want. And all of this, like I said, is meant to emulate the keyboard and mouse experience and open up options to computer players on a controller, so you don't necessarily have to plug in an Xbox controller all the time and have emulating software. I just think this might be a pretty neat option to play Hearthstone on a controller. What do you think?
I credit them for their innovation and their attempt to accommodate PC players with a controller, you know?
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm comfortable with joysticks or thumb pads or I forget, I don't know the exact term, thumbsticks.
Analog sticks or whatever.
Analog stick. There you go. It wouldn't be comfortable for me. I love the features. I love the. It's definitely well done. I'm not. This is just all my personal. It's for me. It's not. I wouldn't prefer something like this.
Yeah.
It's very innovative. I like what Valve did with this though, and I feel like it will be successful. But for me personally, I'm not looking forward to it. Not excited for it.
I think it's a neat concept, but I agree with you. I much prefer my keyboard and mouse, and they're not traveling away from the option of using traditional keyboard and mouse to game with, like they say in their statement. They love it too, but they're just opening up their options. And then this is pretty exciting news in general because they're really just throwing all the right resources at it. If anyone can do this right, I think it's Valve, and their Steam controller is going to be pretty sweet. I probably won't use one like you because I have a very precise Razer mouse, which glows and is very pretty.
Same here.
Yeah. But no release date that I know of on that. But it probably wouldn't be that good for Hearthstone anyway because you got to be able to. I mean, it's timed gameplay, right? So.
Exactly. Yeah.
But who's to say at this point?
Yes.
Anyway, speaking of Hearthstone beta, what other products? I was thinking about this earlier. What other products do you think needed a beta phase? Like Pop-Tarts? You think those needed a beta phase, or maybe like toilets? How do you think that might have gone down?
Pop-Tarts, I don't think they needed one. I think Pop-Tart should have been here since. I wish there was Pop-Tart trees, It's just, they're so good. You don't want to believe it was man-made because no man could create something so beautiful.
A biscuit with some icing on it? I don't know. I'm indifferent. I only like a few.
You have to find your flavor, I'm telling you.
Oh, it's like alcohol.
Yeah. For me, the s'mores Pop-Tarts, I could live on those.
Yeah, I like s'mores too. That's my favorite. No, I really like the confetti cupcake ones.
Of course. Of course. You're a confetti cupcake type of guy, Devin.
Hey, I don't appreciate that at all.
But I don't know. It's another product that needed a beta phase. I think
what might have been the most disastrous thing that someone would really need to work the kinks out of?
I want to say Xbox One needs a beta phase.
They've already gone back on everything else they've said.
Yeah,
they can't even stand on its side now.
Exactly. That's something that would have, if they didn't wise it up and decide to stick with what they had done, I would have definitely needed a beta phase.
Who's to say they won't go back and change things either? Like Giant Bombcast said, they did a funny little skit where they're like, all right, it now stands on its side. We heard you, we're listening to you, the players. Now it stands only on its side.
That's very funny. But I don't know. I can't really think. That's a very good question. I wish I had a really good answer to go to it, but I just can't think of anything right now.
Well, think about it, and I'll get back to you on that one next week.
I'll probably come in like episode 5. This is it. It needed a beta phase.
You're probably going to tell me it's like a toothbrush or something.
Yeah, it's going to be anticlimactic for sure.
Well, in the meantime, I got some quick questions for you. I got you 5 quick questions that you just don't think about. Just answer them as quick as you can.
Oh, okay.
Just like maybe 5 seconds. You don't really have to go into depth. Just try not to think about the first thing that comes to your mind. You ready?
Yes.
How much money do you intend to drop on card packs?
My life savings.
Oh. Pay to win player right here, guys. How would you get your mother into Hearthstone?
Tell her it improves my motor skills. I'm terrible at this.
Your mom would probably confiscate all your socks. Anyway, where can listeners go to subscribe and rate our podcast?
Facebook, our Squarespace site, our Twitter. Any links that we put out will definitely be
iTunes.
Good.
Which hero deck do you think Miley Cyrus's tongue would play?
Wait. Please repeat the question.
Which hero deck do you think Miley Cyrus's tongue would play? You know that really long thing she's always sticking out?
She'd definitely be a rogue. Very, very cunning and slick.
You're wrecking my heart right now, Shard. All right, and lastly, best beer to drink with a game of Hearthstone.
For me, it'll have to be Dos Equis.
Oh, okay. All right. No judgment here.
What's wrong with Dos Equis?
I'm a Sam Adams kind of guy.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's all right. I think that about does it for this show. We'll conclude with the usual. Any closing notes? Anything you wanna plug?
I don't think I have anything. I think we've covered a good range of topics and had a nice, embarrassing quickfire section for me there. So I'm about tapped out.
All right. Well, we'll continue next week with another short and sweet show. It was great having everyone together for I don't know.
You're the worst host.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. Please rate and review us on iTunes and find more shows there and at duelistdiscussion.squarespace.com, and feel free to like us at facebook.com/duelistdiscussion.